You're listening to Confidence with Caytie, a podcast created for ambitious, savvy women who are ready to embrace their inner badass. If you're ready to figure out exactly what you want and how to get there, well, I want you to jump on in and join me, public speaker, executive coach, fire starter, and your podcast host, Caytie Langford. Hello, you. I am Caytie, and I just want you to know how excited that my team and I are that you are here for Confidence with Caytie, episode number 14, How to Prepare for Your Next Interview. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You might be saying, Caytie, I'm not even interviewing. So let me just stop you right there. Because if you think that you need to skip this episode because you're not job hunting, you don't. You actually do need to pay attention. Because today I'm sharing my list of 5 things every single person should bring to an interview. And I guarantee that there are strategies on my list that will help you leverage career opportunities even if you're not looking for a job. And if you are looking for a job and you're down in the trenches of the interview process, these 5 things will help you walk into interviews feeling prepared and confident to land a job that fits exactly what you want. But before I dive into my list, I want to introduce you to the badass of the week. And this week, I really should say badasses, because there are currently 4 women who have announced that they are running for president of the United States. 4. And I don't know where you stand personally, politically, but this is a huge milestone for women because they are putting themselves in the race to break through one of our longest standing glass ceilings. And I, for one, I'm proud of any woman with the confidence and conviction and overall badassness to put themselves on a national stage. And I think it's going to be pretty exciting to watch. I'm wondering if any other woman is going to raise their hand. Now that I've shared that with you, I want to dive back into today's topic because I opened with a really big promise for you and I want to make sure that I fulfill it. Today, I'm going to tell you how to prepare for your next interview, and I promise you that my list of 5 things that everyone should bring to an interview is important. I am so passionate about this content, and I've shared with you that this is the work that I do with my one-on-one coaching clients, and I do them in my online masterclass as well. And the reason that I think that every single person, including you, should know about this is because we so often are unprepared. So regardless of where you are in your career, I think you need to hear this. I think you need to learn it, and I think you need to have it on hand under any circumstance that you might walk into. And the reality is you might very well walk into a network meeting, an impromptu meeting, maybe it's a family gathering. And these 5 things, they will help you walk out with the potential for new opportunities and connections. And realistically, even if you aren't looking for new opportunities or jobs right now, you will be again. I can almost guarantee it. Let me throw some stats your way. When I read these, I was kind of startled. And what's funny about this is the world I'm living in every day. I'm helping women just like you in their professional and personal lives. And so this research comes to us from Gallup's State of the American Workplace. It says that 67% of people in the United States are not engaged or disengaged in their work. That means only 33% are engaged. Are you one of those people that's not engaged? Are you one of those people who's not only not engaged, but disengaged? Here's the other stat I'll throw out at you. 91% of the people who have changed jobs in the last 3 years left their company to do so. So maybe you're thinking, hey, I got a great gig. I love the company that I work for. I'm kind of on the fence, but it's going well. The reality is, in a year, if you are ready to take on a new position, it probably, based on these statistics, won't be in the company you work for today. And This is the one that I think surprises a lot of people, although I don't think that it surprised me when I heard it, but it very well might shock you. 51% of employees are actively looking for a new job or are watching for openings. And I believe it. I hear all the time, Caytie, I'm not ready to make a move right now, but I'm open to listening to opportunities. And if I know you, like I think that I do, you're probably in that category. So you might not be looking right now, but I guarantee you're going to need to use these skills in your career. Or maybe you're totally happy where you are, but it's probably because you already do some of these things really well. I do have one disclaimer. If you are looking, I just want you to know, in order to get the job you want or the new opportunity you want, you are going to have to do things that make you nervous. You might do things that scare you. You might do things that terrify you. But if you want the right next job, not just any next job, you will do it. Here's what I know. Moving from one crappy experience to another isn't what you are going for here. It isn't what you were made for. You are going for the role that will be the best fit for you. Okay. Are you excited? I am. I love talking about this stuff, and I love helping you work through and process all of this so you can go and have a career and job you love. So let's jump in. Here is my list of 5 things every person should bring to an interview. Number 1, before you walk into an interview or a meeting or a networking event, you need to get really clear about what you want and what you don't want. And I see this all the time. I hear people say over and over, I have no idea what I want. In my coaching practice, I see women just like you freak out about preparing for interviews. And it usually starts with the preparation, right? Because we anticipate that we're going to need to know every single question a company might throw out our way. We've got to stop this. As many times as I've prepped people for interviews, there is absolutely zero way that we will know every single question that you are asked. But ambitious women, just like you, I need you to know that you are the one who wants to get a great new job, and you are the one with the skills that you can bring to the table. You need to make sure that the job and the company are the right fit for you. You need to be really clear about 2 things: what you have to offer and what your 3 to 5 non-negotiables are. Again, clarity is something that a lot of my clients struggle to find. And if that's where you are today, you're not even sure what kind of job you want or what exactly you'd like to offer, what you'd like to do. I do have an online course called You Can Love What You Do, and it helps walk you through the entire process of getting clear about what you want and finding a job that fits you. You can learn more about that. We'll have some information in our show notes, but you can also sign up by going to CaytieLangford.com and work with me. We'll have it under that. So you've got to have that clarity. Know what you offer and know what your 3 to 5 non-negotiables, those things that you want in your next role, know what they are. The second thing that you need before you walk into any interview is confidence. Y'all, I have a whole podcast surrounded by this topic. So we're talking about it weekly. You need to be so confident that what you are bringing to the table is great. Now is not the time to doubt yourself. Now is the time to know your worth and embrace it and be so unapologetic about what you want and be ready to go get it. If you're struggling with confidence, well, we've got a myriad of podcasts, but I'd go back all the way to podcast number 1 because we talk about building your confidence muscle. So push pause now, go listen to that episode, or go to my TEDx SMU Women Talk, my TEDx talk, and then come back because we are going to teach you how to build your confidence muscle. Number 3, stories. So when we talk about the fact that you're not always going to know every single thing that you're going to be asked in an interview, you can prepare yourself with your stories. These are times in your life, times in your career that you have knocked it out of the park. And in fact, if I were you, my advice to you would be prepare 2 to 3 of those stories. Think about times that it really was awesome. You were in the flow, the project went well, the leadership style went well, whatever it is that you do, your sale went well. And then I want you to relive that moment, that lead up time. Maybe it was a month, 2 months, maybe it was a full year. Relive that and start to begin to pick out those stories of when what you did brought something to the project. Become so clear on what you did so that you will be able to share that information. Become so clear on what you did so that you will be able to share that information and practice it, which brings us to number 4, conversation skills. This might be the biggest thing for me when I am working with women who are just like you. And men. I've worked with men too. There are people listening to our podcast that are saying, I'm a man, Caytie. I know you're out there. I know you are. But I know you, ambitious woman, you're out there too. We get so hyped up because we think that an interview is a time for them to get to know us. And we forget that we need to get to know them. So I want you to change the way that you look at an interview. And I want you to adopt a conversation mindset. You need to look at the interview process as a conversation because that's what it is. And you have conversations all day, every single day. A conversation goes something like this. You put information out, you get information back in. You gather information, you ask questions, you give information, right? That's how this works. It's the same thing with an interview. You are evaluating the fit not only for them, but for yourself. And are you ready for this? I'm about to throw out some really bad French your way. The word interview comes from the French word entrevue, and I'm totally saying that wrong. I'm certain of it. And that word means see each other. Listen, voir comes from to see and view comes from or means view. But we don't look at a job interview as a way to see each other. We look at it as a way for a company to see a candidate. And I have to pick on Merriam-Webster because right now, the way that Merriam-Webster defines interview, it is a formal consultation, usually to evaluate qualifications of a prospective student or employee. And that's how we look at it. We look at it as it's a formal thing that they're evaluating us. But that's not how the word was intended in the beginning, okay? It was a way to see each other. So how about we start looking at interviews as a two-way conversation between two parties who are both looking to see if they mutually benefit each other? What would that look like if you were able to change your mindset that an interview is a conversation where you're looking at the company and you want them to look at you, and you mutually get to decide whether or not you're a fit? The reality is doing so helps reduce anxiety, it gives us confidence, and it allows us to be our true selves in an interview process. And that's the other thing. If you make your job in an interview about trying to sell yourself to fit a job description and not actually seeing if it's a right fit, but you're trying to put yourself, your round self into a square hole. No, I said that wrong. But you know what I mean, ladies. If you're doing that, it's not going to work. You know how many people call me and say, Caytie, I need to start working with you because 4 months ago I took a job that I hate because I sold myself in the interview process and it's not working. And listen, note to hiring managers, ladies, if you are a hiring manager, you also need to know this. You need to be prepared for top-notch candidates to ask you questions. You need to be prepared to be authentic and honest. This can no longer be a bait and switch kind of thing. You cannot say one thing in the interview and then do something completely different when the person shows up for work. You know the statistics. People don't leave companies. People leave bosses. So if you say one thing in an interview and you show up and do the other thing when that great candidate starts, you are screwing yourself. So know that on both sides of the conversation, it's a conversation. Now, I want to transition to number 5, my number 5, and it might sound obvious now that we've talked about conversation skills. Number 5 is questions, right? What I want you to do is prepare 5 to 6 questions that will directly ask the hiring manager and anyone and everyone else that you interview with how they match up with your 3 to 5 non-negotiables. If you have 3 to 5 things that you absolutely want to happen in your next role and you never ask the company how it matches up, well, then the non-negotiables are kind of a moot point. So let me give you an example so that you can see what I'm talking about. If you say you want a manager that trusts their team members, then I want you to ask in the interview, Sally, how do you show that you trust your team members? Can you give me examples? And let them tell you. Another example could be, I want to be able to work from anywhere. Sally, tell me about your culture and how people work. Do they always work in the office or are they able to go and work other places? Ask what you want to ask. So many people, I've heard this before, they say, I don't know what I can't ask and what I can ask. You can ask any question that you want to in an interview. Now, of course, I want you to remember that some questions may be not appropriate, but then again, I don't know what industry you work in. It's something that's important to you. Ask it. Ask it. And a side note, I recommend that you ask for an interview with the people that you are going to be working with, not just the hiring manager and your supervisor or your boss or leader, whatever the word is in your industry. Because oftentimes we get information from people who are our peers or our colleagues in a way that is different than what we would get from a hiring manager. So in this case, if you met the team member, Rachel, and you wanted to know how Sally was at trusting her team members, you could simply ask, Rachel, how do you see Sally trusting her team members? And what does she specifically do to show this? Again, if you met Rachel and you know you want to be able to work from anywhere, you might say to Rachel, hey, Rachel, how often do you work in the office versus out of the office? Rachel will give you an indication of what you want to know. That's it. That's the big list. It might seem simple, and it should, because again, it's a conversation we're having. You're going to be prepared and ready, and you're going to be rocking it. So here are the things. First, you're going to get clarity. You're going to know what you want. Second, you're going to feel confident. And again, we have these clarity and confidence tools in our podcast. Third, you're going to be ready to share your stories. Number 4, your conversation skills. Nothing else than remembering it's a conversation. And 5, you're going to be prepared with your questions. Okay, you've gone through the interview. And while the hiring team is doing their job of choosing a candidate, what do you do with all the information that you've collected? Well, now it's time to reflect. What you do is you use the information that you receive to inform you whether or not this is a good fit. Now is not the time to be desperate. When you are desperate, you go from one crappy situation to another. And I want you to think and reflect on, is what you heard and experienced match up with your non-negotiables, those 3 to 5 things that you say that you want in your next role? Or do you need more information from them? And if you do, ask for it. If the information that you have is enough, then be ready to make a decision. And decisions could include moving forward in the process, telling them that you're ready to move forward in the process, telling them that you want to work there. Companies are made up of people. People want to be wanted. If you want to work for a specific person or a specific team, tell them that. It also could be telling them that you don't want to move forward. Interview is like dating. It is very rare that after one date you decide that you are ready to marry someone. And the same is true for job hunting. So continue having those two-way conversations and decide if it's a fit. As always, my goal is to serve you and add value to your very important life. If you're feeling overwhelmed by these 5 tips, or you're sitting there saying, how in the world can I ever do that? You might want to take this conversation one step further. It might make sense for you to look into the You Can Love What You Do. This is my online masterclass course that helps you find clarity, build confidence, and get the tools to help you in your job search. And of course, if you're loving Confidence with Caytie, will you do me a favor? Will you subscribe on iTunes or whatever listening app you use? Will you rate us? Will you leave a comment? And will you share our podcast with a friend? If you know that you have a friend going through the interview process, this is an awesome one to forward them. Doing all of these things helps us reach more ambitious, savvy women just like you. And it helps fulfill our mission, my company's mission of inspiring, motivating, and impacting the lives of women just like you. Thanks for listening to Confidence with Caytie. I hope the episode helped you feel more empowered to take control of your dream life and dream career. Go start igniting those fires and embrace your inner badass. Until next time, badasses.